Welcome to our daily Forex market analysis, and this is for trading on September 25th, 2019. Just a quick disclaimer here before we get started. This is for educational purposes only. Trading is a risky business, so please be careful with your money. As usual, we'll start off by taking a look at our calendar here. Okay, to start things off here, the data that came out of the US here, consumer confidence numbers were below expectations, as well as Richmond manufacturing index numbers here. So we did see that US dollar dropped as a result of that. And also, we have been seeing, just in terms of the US dollar, we have been seeing, excuse me, so we have seen comments out of the US that the impeachment inquiry has been started for President Trump here. So Speaker Nancy Pelosi here, she has, or she's moving forward with official impeachment inquiry. So essentially with President Trump, what happened was he was pressuring, or there was a phone conversation where he pressured, or what do you call it? Let's take a look here. Ukrainian president. So he put pressure on Ukrainian president in order to start an investigation into Joe Biden here, who is the Democratic presidential candidate, I should say, for the 2020 election. So President Trump, my apologies, sorry. President Trump has been putting pressure on the Ukrainian president to dig up dirt on him, essentially. That was the whole purpose here. So there was a big controversy over the last few days that we saw there was a whistleblower inquiry. And then today, President Trump tweeted that he's going to release the phone conversation that he had with the Ukrainian president. And now we are seeing an official impeachment inquiry starting. So all of that creates a risk, right? So as a result of that, we could see US dollar being negatively impacted by that. So keep an eye on it. The more comments, negative comments we see, that will be negative for the US dollar. So just keep that in mind. And other than that, we also saw comments that President Trump said that China has not adopted or promised reforms that they were supposed to do. So this is something we want to keep in mind. So if we see that that has not happened, so if we see more comments like this, where US says that China is not fulfilling their promise, that will be negative for overall markets. So that could lead the markets into risk aversion mode. And as a result of that, we could see Japanese yen, basically safe haven assets, go up as a result of that. So those are the two things that we need to keep in mind from geopolitical issues perspective. And then coming up this evening, we have official cash rate for New Zealand here. At this point, they're not expected to change anything, but the focus will be on the comments from Reserve Bank of New Zealand. So if they are concerned about US-China trade relationship, or they're concerned about any sort of overall economic slowdown and stuff like that, and they express concerns, or they say that they are looking to cut rates further, all of those comments will actually be negative for New Zealand dollar, and we could see New Zealand dollar drop as a result of that. So that's what we have for today. Let's take a quick look at what's coming up here. So on September 25th here, not a ton of data. We do have consumer climate number here for Eurozone. We have a FOMC member, a couple of FOMC members speaking, and then new home sales, crude oil inventories, but not a ton of data. So from data perspective, it's a quiet day. But the comments can sure move the market, especially as we hear more about this impeachment inquiry, more details come out, keep an eye on that. That could also create risk aversion in the market again. So we have a couple of things on the radar that we need to keep an eye on. So let's go on to our charts here. So currently, as we can see, price has been trading in this range for the euro dollar here. I was looking for price to drop yesterday, but it hasn't dropped. We saw that the negative numbers for the US has pushed the price up. Now we do have a bullish candle close, but price is into resistance. So this is where we see that price has reacted at this level multiple times. So at this point, the candle is bullish, but overall I'm neutral on this. So we need to see how price reacts at this level. So if we see that price stays below this level, then we could see price go lower. But if it crosses over, then it could go towards the top of the range here. But for now, bias is neutral because price has just been going back and forth within this range. So neutral bias for euro dollar. Pound dollar here, we saw that pound has moved up here actually. So it's holding above this previous support resistance level. So something to keep in mind, as we can see, it has progressively held higher lows. Now, bias is bullish based on this bullish engulfing candle close. But something to keep in mind here as well is that we are into resistance. As we can see, price had reacted at this level previously several times. So we are into resistance level here. So thing to keep in mind here would be if the price stays below 1.2500, then we could see it drop further. It could come back towards the bottom of this range. And as we can see here, price has been trading in this range here for the last several days here. So at this point, it is into resistance, so something to be cautious about. I will say based on just the candle close, bias is bullish, but with caution here. So if price stays below 1.2500, I'm looking for it to come back towards the bottom of the range at 1.2420 level. Now, should it go through, then I'm aiming for the high here at 1.2580. So for now, bias is bullish. 1.2580 is the target. But like I said, if it stays below the resistance, then this one could drop as well. But for now, bias is bullish. Aussie here. Aussie has turned around here. So bias is bullish here. We have a nice bullish candle close. So the next target is to the upside at 0.6820 or 0.68. Actually, let's do 0.6830. That's a better level here of previous support resistance. So bias is bullish, looking for price to go up higher here towards 0.6830 level. So bullish bias for Aussie dollar. New Zealand dollar here, this one, yesterday we had talked about the bullish bias here. Now we do have the news coming out. So that could make a difference here in terms of how prices react here. But based on the candle close here, bias is bullish. But overall, though, the bias is to the downside here. So as we can see, bias is to the downside. We got a pullback, but we could get a deeper pullback here. So for now, I would say bullish bias. But again, it is into this previous support resistance level where price has reacted before. So if it doesn't break today's high, this one could drop here again, and it could actually resume the previous move here. So for now, bias is bullish, but with caution on this one here as well. Okay, so next one here is dollar CAD. So dollar CAD, yesterday we had talked about this, a pin here. We had talked about how price had rejected that level several times. So today we got a bearish candle close on this. So bias is bearish. So that was a nice follow through from yesterday. Now, because of the nice bearish close, looking for a further move to the downside. First target is still 1.3220, and then looking at 1.3190 or 1.3180. So bias here is bearish. But again, we are coming into support. This is an important support resistance level. If price does not go through this one, then this one could turn here as well. but overall bias is bearish, and we could see price drop here. So bearish bias for dollar CAD. So in terms of the pullback level, I would look at 1.3250 as a potential pullback level here. So we could get a pullback like that, or we could also get slightly deeper pullback into 1.3260, so 50 or 60 level. So bias is bearish here for dollar CAD. Let's take a look at our commodities now. Starting off with silver, we see that price was into resistance yesterday, and we had talked about this resistance yesterday. Today, we have a neutral candle close. So price did go back to retest this level at 18.20 and then held above. And now we have a neutral candle. So this is indecision candle. At this point, I would look to see what price does. If price goes through the high, then we're looking for a move higher. If it does not break today's high, then we could see a drop. But for now, we just need to wait and see which way it goes. So bias is neutral. Now, should there be any escalation in US-China? So if we see comments, more comments from President Trump about how China is not keeping their promises, that could have a negative impact on the markets, which means silver could go up. Or if we hear more terrible news in regards to impeachment, for example, that could also have a negative impact on the markets. So positive impact on the safe haven assets like silver and gold. So these type of things we just need to keep an eye on. Now Germany and so another France and Germany, I think they wanted, or they would like Iran and US to sit down and sort out their differences. Now we'll see how that plays out. For now, there was no more chatter today in regards to the situation there. But if things escalate, again, that would be good for safe haven assets and bad for the equity markets. So those are some of the things that we just need to keep an eye on. They're going on in the background here. And if any of those escalate, it could again mean that safe haven assets would go up. Today, though, it was relatively quiet on that respect. So we do have a neutral candle close, but the test would be, can it hold above the high? If not, then I will look for a move back towards 81.20. So for now, my bias is neutral here. If it holds below today's high, I'm looking for a drop towards 18.20. Otherwise, 18.80 is the next target, and then 19.20 is the second target. Gold here, gold is looking bullish here. Yesterday, we were looking for that move up. We got that move up. Now price is into resistance, as we can see. On this side here as well, price had trouble. Along this line, we have seen a price struggle. So as a result of that, we have to be cautious. It is a nice candle close, bullish though, so bias is to the upside. We could get a pullback into 1528 potentially, or even a slightly lower into 1525, and then a further move to the upside like that. But if it crosses this line to the downside, then likely we're going to see price drop further. For now, bias is bullish for gold. Oil, big drop in oil here. It finally moved through the support level here. So this is a nice solid bearish candle close. All that, the entire move to the upside seems to be getting filled here. So bias is bearish, looking for price to drop further here. And target, in terms of targets, we are into support level, or coming up into support level. So keep that in mind. 56.20 to about 56 would be kind of a zone of support here. So let's say 56 is the first target. And then we have 55.20. So bias is bearish for oil. Copper seems to be going sideways. We had a bullish candle close yesterday. Today is bearish. I think this one could drop further towards the bottom here. So I would look for it to go and retest the support at 2.55. So for now, slightly bearish, but overall, this is just sideways here. It hasn't really given us a clear indication of direction at this point. It's just trading in a range. So for now, I'm just looking for price to test 2.55. So bearish bias for copper. Bitcoin, huge drop in Bitcoin. Our target yesterday was 9050. It's gone through that level here. So looks still looks like momentum is to the downside. We could see a further drop here. So for several days here, this one was building here. It was pushing into the support. So we have a bit of a triangle going here. And so now price has broken through that triangle support. So I will look for pullback potentially and then a drop. So first target here is 8,000, and then below that we've got 7450 level. So bias is bearish for Bitcoin. S&P 500, we had a drop in the equity markets here today, or at least in the S&P 500 here. Price was trading in a range. Now it's moved out of that, but technically it's kind of still in a range here, but the immediate range, the short term range there. So bias is to the downside. We could get a pullback into 2980 level here, and then a continuation to the downside. So bias is bearish. 2950 is the target here for S&P 500. NASDAQ here, same thing, price broke through the support. Now we are into this area here. So bias is bearish. Next target here would be 7,600. So bias is bearish. We could get a pullback into the bottom of this, so support resistance level here, bottom of these candles, and then a drop. So bearish bias here, pullback level here, 7760 level. So bearish bias. DAX, same thing here. We have seen a drop through the support. So bias is bearish. I will look for a pullback and then a drop. 12,160 is the target here for DAX. FTSE here, same thing, break through the support. Now looking bearish, 7,200 is the target. And same thing here, we could get a bit of a pullback into 7,280 and then a drop. So bias is bearish for FTSE as well. Nikkei here, we did see a drop. It's still holding above this previous support resistance level, so just be careful. But bias, I think, is still to the downside here. I'm looking for a break here for this one as well. So we need to see a break and a continuation to the downside. So bearish bias for Nikkei as well. All right, so that's it. We will wrap it up here. Have a wonderful trading day, and I will be back again tomorrow. Bye for now.